All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm not in my studio today. I'm getting panels put up, soundproof panels to hopefully improve my studio. Hopefully, it starts improving from here. I'm joined with Alpha Warrior. Alpha Warrior, thanks for joining me once again, man. Uh, I can't even keep track with what's happening. It's like this is like every second I check X, every second I call Juan, every second I call a ghost, different guest. It's like I'm hearing different news all the time. It's just I've never, like you said, it's just too much winning, honestly. And the cartels, I'm going to tell you this right now: the cartels are on the outs. They may have one last fight in them. It's not going to work. It's over. Thanks for joining me, Alpha.
No, 100%. And look, we knew the winning was going to come. We knew that there was going to be resistance. But I mean, we're what, 2.5 weeks in? Like, this is a lot of winning.
No
And
president's ever done this.
never. And anyone that considered it, well, we know what happened to them.
Yeah, and think about this. What have we been saying for the last 4 or 5 years? This is a sting operation. There's no way he'd be able to do what he's doing right now if we were wrong. If we were wrong and he wasn't tracking and tracing and watching everybody and smoking out, what did we say the whole Biden administration? This is a smoke out. He's just, you got to commit the crimes, which they have. Now he knows who to go after. And I'm surprised that nobody could catch on to this. I guess you have to recognize strategy.
You do, because here's the thing: there's no administration that has the ability, like this, literally the physical ability to come in less than 21 days implement the strategies and stuff they've done. Because remember, he still doesn't have all his people appointed. So what this means is these strategies have been in place. They've been working on them since 2020. This administration has never stopped working.
Well, I think before then, I think before
Oh
then,
yeah,
I
a
think this
hundred,
is,
a hundred
I
percent.
think before 2016. I think this has been an operation of sorts. And before I get into that, folks, it's that time again. Get your noble gold. Get your noble gold. Noble gold. Diversify now, folks. Market crashes strike fast, devastating for the underprepared. Just ask Nvidia investors who saw 600 billion vanish overnight. No warning, no second chances. Noble Gold has helped thousands diversify their wealth with gold IRAs and physical gold. Having managed over 2 billion in transactions, Noble Gold is the trusted choice for Americans serious about financial security. When you open a qualified account, you'll receive two 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins absolutely free. This is unbelievable. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now. Noblegoldinvestments.com now. Click the link below. Colin Bloom is a friend of mine, and he delivers, folks. I can attest to that. All right, so what it seems like to me here, and I also I'm going to just tell my audience if my light goes out, it goes out. I'm running on fumes right now. I'm not at my studio, but um, it seems like to me with where we're at and everything's moving so fast, their heads are spinning. You see Schumer coming out, with his negative rhetoric. It's just not going to work. Nothing's going to work. They're done. It's absolutely game over for them. And where did we start? I mean, they're getting rid of how many FBI
So
agents? How many prosecutors? You said or USAID, whatever it's called. On.
well, one, to go back, you have 5,000 of the FBI agents that it's now been revealed that were working towards J6. That's, for those that don't know, I believe that's 40, almost 46%. So nearly half that you're talking of the agents were committed to that. So, if you follow Kyle
Were
Seraphin,
they given their walking papers or just told to get off the
so
investigation?
so the upper echelons have been given their walking papers. As I'm being told, and you guys know I communicate with some of these whistleblowers, what I'm being told is we're going to see these agents shortly following afterwards. So you're talking about at least a third of the FBI, and this is a good thing. And you see, the unions and stuff that represent these agents that are calling, to sue the government. How's the FBI going to work? Well, one, you were focused on Americans, so it wasn't like you were working anyways. You were focused on things that the American people didn't see as a priority. And then, like you said, you have Schumer, you have Schiff, you have Hakeem Jeffries, that they're on a rampage. These guys are putting up signs around government buildings saying no one elected Elon. Well, you know what? No one elected, Mr. SOROS that got the Freedom Medal. Nobody elected the lobbyists. Nobody elected the NGOs, but they had no problem with these people directing the way our policies and government function. But now that you have Elon and Doge coming out, Department of Government Efficiency, people are just, a lot of us knew, maybe we didn't know how bad, but we knew it was bad. You're talking billions, $100 million for some safety jimmies to Gaza.
Yeah.
We know that that's not true. And Trump called it out today when he said the executive order. Trump's going to do an investigation. He
And
said,
that's how I believe the arrests are going to be able to go are going to be able to happen in a fast pace, but also win over the courts of public opinion. In my in my
over the last couple of years, Nino, you remember this phrase, follow the money?
Yeah.
That's exactly what Doge is. Doge is the bloodhound, bro. Doge is the bloodhound following the money. And Trump said it today. I want to know who got the kickbacks. When Trump says I want to know, what he's saying is we're going to find out. And and the other keyword he said, he goes, and it's criminal. He's not playing around.
No,
You
he's
know,
not. And I'm just going to say here, the FBI just provided President Trump's Justice Department the names of there. Here you are, 5,000 agents and officials who worked cases and Jack Smith's hoaxes. Uh, that means 𝗬𝗏 will be firing thousands. So this is going to be put on the lap of 𝗬𝗏, and he's just going to clean house. I mean, more to come, and then the real investigations are going to start.
I wouldn't be surprised that you see these 5,000 agents. So one of the things that's being offered to these government employees, because the fiscal year is all the way through August, I believe, when I was talking to 𝗀𝗃 about this. So a lot of them been told, hey, if you don't think you're going to be around, you can take this golden handshake and collect your paycheck that goes all the way to August. But if you stick around and we don't need you, you're walking away with nothing.
Yeah.
So the 5,000 agents that just got put on notice, I wouldn't be surprised that you would see the vast majority of these guys are going to resign. They're going to resign because
They have no choice. They
and they
have
don't
no
want,
choice.
yeah, and they want to be able to save face because they're thinking that they're going to go into these secondary institutions contracts the way it's always been in the past, and I don't think that's going to be there. But I mean, you're talking a powerful move because here's the issue. We also need the DOJ and the FBI to investigate these things that Trump's calling for. So you got to have this purge happen in order for these executive orders into investigations to be successful. Because if not, then we see the same thing that we've always seen. It lands on
Putting
the
putting your chess pieces in position.
100%, man. And the biggest move that we've seen in my lifetime, man, is the one that you just saw with USAID. This has been the, I'll be careful with the words here, the money funny business scheme. You know what I mean? This has been how they've been doing their loteria, right?
Yeah.
And just got pulled from them. And this is why you see them in a panic. You had Bill Gates, that was
Bill
being
Gates, Chuck Schumer, all of them. Bill Gates was on The View.
yes, that's the statement I'm talking about. Now here's I think there was a subtle threat that he threw out there. He says, I hope they find a way to work with this and we keep some of this work. He goes, if not, there might be millions of
Yeah,
DATHs.
yeah. Yep.
And and we
Yeah,
know
that was a threat. That was a
yeah.
direct threat. You're right.
And so I think that this is one of those things where we're definitely winning, but we also can't be complacent. This administration, the American people have to realize, that the second these guys get pushed more into a corner, this is gonna, it's gonna become a dogfight. And I think this is what, the conversation to continue from the last time in part one, the Iron Dome. I think this is what makes it so important. You've seen all the headlines, you have Anthony Agura, he's been doing a lot of work along the border, and these guys are getting legitimate actionable intel of these cartels with drones that have explosives. This is, our border patrol agents outside of the ones that have recent combat experience. they're not trained and they don't have the experience to deal with that kind of you know combat action. And so I think this shows you that Trump knew what was going on, because him positioning the National Guard, the Airborne, and the Marines at the border is because he knew, hey, we need something beyond just the law enforcement capacity here to be able to combat these things, because we do have the military tech to deal with these drones. Like, for those that don't, like, we back in my days, this is all the way back to 2003. Our ships and certain equipment had the ability to do a swarm drone, like or swarms of drones. So you can imagine we're 20 plus years later. They absolutely have the technology. So I think he's about to pull off the Iron Dome. I think they're equipping that stuff at the border, and I think we're about to see everything just get annihilated on the side, which also
Let's
means though.
let's let's look at this threat, that because you're right, it was a threat. It was a threat. And when you know about 2020 and you know how that went down, this is a direct threat. Let's see if he says it here.
Here in America right now.
Well, Elon, his private sector work, has been very innovative, really fantastic. A lot of private sector people, when they get into government, they don't take the time necessarily to see what the good work is or why it's structured the way it is. So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff.
Yeah, because he's guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's guilty. That's what that is. I'm a little worried. And then and then you're right. He delivers a threat right here.
My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work.
How evil is this guy, huh? How evil is this man? For those who are asleep, listening to this man, they're like, "Oh, he's right. He's 100% right." But those of us that are awake see right through this guy. And I'm so glad you brought this guy up, because you are correct. This is how he's delivering the threat. People who can read in between the lines.
And rewind it like 2 seconds.
Hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So, with aid, people.
Wow. There you go.
Go back to about the 35-second
think
mark. Uses the
wow, how much do we give to these countries? As you said, it's less than 1%. USAID on nutrition and
listen when he uses the word
getting
worm.
vaccines out, and there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. Hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So,
that's a direct threat, man.
So the reason I wanted you to rewind it back to where he says, that there's people that work at USAID. These aren't worms. That's a very non-normal statement to make when you're making those kind of references. But, and most men will probably know this. What do we know? What do we use worms for? For bait.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's throwing comms back at the good guys, saying, yeah.
No, that's exactly what this. Good catch, Alpha, because you're right. When I saw this, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You have to really know you got to be really awake to pick up what he's saying here. This is a direct threat. Bill Gates delivered a direct threat right now, and we all need to be paying attention, because we all know what happened in 2020, and who knows what could happen in 2025 or 2026.
Partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out, and there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. Hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So,
there you go. I mean, it doesn't get more blatant than that.
It's not. The comms are there when he says bait, or when he says worms, he's saying take this bait, and then when he says we get this back in shape. That's another peculiar phase. And if you talk to most military people, if you're talking shape, usually you're thinking shape charges. explosives. So this guy is just throwing out all kinds
Yeah.
of undercover comm threats
And
that
he's
are,
doing it in a very eloquent way, in a way that only the people in the know would understand.
and he knows that, because most people are just going to see that and it's just going to go past them. But for a lot of us that have been tracking it, and we know the way these people talk, that's why when they speak differently, we catch it right away, because we're like, you don't usually speak like that. And words, it's information warfare. We say it all the time. Words are important.
You
And
know,
so
I've been told by the Ghost and a few other people, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and others, that Russia could deliver on the promise that Trump, on the promise of the Biden pardons. Like he would take the reins on those and conduct the what in Russia that we're supposed to be doing here, or in Gitmo. So that's important. So when you understand really what's happening here and the operation that's at hand, there's nowhere to run for these people. To
well,
me, they're doomed, and
you,
evil will contest it all the way through to the final moment. They'll believe their arrogance, their pride cometh before the fall. It's not going to be something that they're going to get scared and they're going to shy away. They're going to fight to the death, man.
well, it's what you said. They've got nowhere to run to, because that's an important statement. Because the more Trump exposes, this administration exposes, the more that, Americans here domestically, we're going to be like, what? Right now, look at USAID. That's just the tip of the scab of what's going to get revealed as far as how corrupt all this stuff is. And when people see these people and then they see, and we can't do nothing because they're pardoned, well, these people are going to be afraid of like vigilantes and street justice. So what are they going to do? They're going to flee America. They're going to flee America and go to these countries where they think they're safe. And I think that's where you're going to have people like Putin, little rocket man, some of these other
To
world
drop the
leaders
hammer.
they're gonna snatch them up. And then I think that's when you're gonna see those things that we've all wanted to see for, quite some time.
You know, Trump just made a statement that it says breaking. President Trump says he left instructions if Iran assassinates him. That would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. But that would be the end. I left instructions. So he has like a the trigger, dead man's trigger. There wouldn't be anything left, he says, of Iran. Nothing would be left. So this guy, when I saw him speak at Davos, and I paid very close attention, just like that calm we saw with Bill Gates right now, I paid attention to every word Trump laid out at Davos. And for him to go up there and said what he said, and then in the back of him, if you notice the seal of the eagle, it was pointed at the arrows, not the olive branch, which means war, not peace. Correct, Alpha?
100%.
He's going all in, and right now there's no stopping him. I mean, he's going all in. The cartels have issued orders to attack border patrol agents with drones. This is getting real. I don't think people understand how real this is getting. Now, I'm not saying we can't just annihilate them and take them out. Of course we can. But I think in order to do that, they're going to have to make a move. And what kind of move will that be? What kind of terrorist attack will that be on our soil? Because in order for Trump to be justified to go into Mexico and take them out, they're going to have to do something here. Do you agree with me?
I do. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the bad guys. Listen, you can these incidences that we've had with our planes. That's not coincidence. And I think it goes beyond just the DEI. And I think there's a reason Trump brings that up. And I think we are seeing attacks on our infrastructure. This goes back to the bridges. This goes back to the trains. This goes back to the ship out there in the East Coast when it crashed into the bridge. I think the bad guys have been monitoring what scares the American people the most. We saw attacks at in Vegas at the music festival. We've seen the attacks at the mall. They've been able to kind of measure out. And this is where my biggest concern comes from. The one thing America has never had to sustain, and God willing that we all pray on this, is things that we've seen in other countries, are these massive terrorist attacks on the schools. And that's always been my number one concern. And I think that if they truly wanted to institute fear or make the people put pressure on Trump to be like, okay, loosen the reins a little bit, I think they're going to come after the kids. Now
Well,
that
that's
said,
true.
I think Trump's people recognize that, and I think they are monitoring the traffic to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And I think you and I are really good at the strategy here because I've lived on the border my whole life. I've been a fighter my whole life. You're prior law enforcement. I think putting our heads together, trying to figure this out. I think we're right over the target. And you're right, it would be kids because in Juarez, when they had the cartel wars, they were shooting up schools. They didn't care. That's what I worry about here in America. The first time they do something like that, it's over for them. And I think, and I hate to say it this way, but you need the court of public opinion. You need the people to get behind you. So if they come onto our soil and do something like that here in America, Trump knows it's over. He goes in and cleans house, right? I
A
mean,
100%.
or do you think it could be as little as deleting a border patrol agent? Do you think it'd be something that small? And I'm not saying any death is small, but I'm saying, do you think in order for us to go into Mexico to go after the cartels, your prior law enforcement, would it need to be something as like a border patrol death or something on the scale of a school shooting or they go in and mow down a restaurant? What do you think?
For us to do a public attack like that, because there's going to be covert ones, but for us to do a public attack where we cross the southern border, it's going to have to be a significant attack. And as costly as it would be to lose one of our BP guys, that would also be, hey, this is the danger of what they take when they do that job. Now, that said, if it was an entire like BP like patrol unit, like a whole team, or if it was a whole like a port of entry, that's different. If it's something that has mass casualty, I think you would see something like that. If it's something that's very small in the casualty count, I don't think we would.
So it's got to be something that American people can get behind, like a 9/11 type thing.
Not just get behind that the American people would demand.
Right, right. So it has to be something not maybe not on the scale of 9/11, but big enough to where children could be involved, but innocent lives are killed.
100%.
Oof. Why do
Because
I feel like that's a huge possibility?
we remember the school right there in Texas along the border. It was what, about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
Uvalde.
With Uvalde. you know, if you remember back then, there was a lot of information circulating about, BP guys that had their kids there, cartel involvement, one of the captains being part of a raid that involved the cartel. And, there was a lot of speculation that this was retaliation or a way of telling, BP and Homeland Security at the time to back off. So they know, what the pinch points are in this country, and our kids and our schools are that.
I think it's coming. I feel it. I can feel the tension here in El Paso along the border. I go down there and I've got some footage of I talked to some of the folks. I talked to some of the cartel, the military, and I spoke with them off camera and on camera for a brief second. Uh, Look, they don't like Trump. They don't like the situation, and we're cutting off their bloodline, their lifeline, to how they make a living. And when you cut off their arteries, it's one thing to cut off some of the veins that come into America, but when you're cutting off their complete lifeline overnight and they have to restructure, reorganize, it's war. This is war. I really don't believe people understand what I'm saying here. Although we will annihilate them, they will get their shots in, believe me.
And just so people understand what you're saying is that serious. Why do you think people like Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and them are pushing so hard? Because when they get these kickbacks, they get the kickbacks with the understanding that these things that they're promising people like the cartel and these other, that they're going to get what they got, their money, their weapons, whatever they need. So when things like USAID gets rug pulled, these people are saying, hey, listen, I don't care. This is what you promised me. And you're still going to make sure I get my millions, or, it's you that'll be deleted, from the
Yeah.
situation for that. That's why these guys are pushing so hard. People just, they need to understand how critical this move by Trump to go after, USAID and then pulling us out of these different factions within the UN. Like this is literally Trump putting a stop hold and and deleting their bank accounts.
Yes,
And
that's here.
that
Trump
ups
just
the
called for.
ante, man.
Yeah, Trump just called for investigations to find out who's getting kickbacks from all the ludicrous money spent at USAID. Now you know why the Democrats are sweating all of them. Makes a lot
This
of
is
sense to me.
this is the marker, Nino, where that the whether it's public or covert, this is where you're going to know that there's going to be a major attack against the bad guys. You're going to see, I don't know how much of the grid, but you're going to see the telecommunications part of our infrastructure go down.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
going to be a good guy operation. Whether
Correct.
it's just for a day, whether it's just for a day or a few days, when that telecommunications goes down, and so the second part is from information that's been given to me. So my theory on this going down, this my speculation, but it's speculation off what I'm going to share with you now, is I was told that there's a new encryption technology that we have never seen before, that it's going to change the face of this country. It's going to change the face of the world, everything. Well, everybody else, including the cartels, the terrorists, they operate off this old telecommunications, whether it be sat phones, whatever. So when that system goes down, that means you just remove their ability to communicate. That means that's when they're going to strike at them. That's when the good guys are going to come. That's when they're going to do the delete blow of what's
Right.
going on.
The big cleanup is what I was told.
And then you'll see this new infrastructure that takes place that they're not going to have time to jump on. So
So that's going to be the United States Iron Dome.
That's the Iron Dome. That's the Iron Dome, man. When you remove their ability to communicate, because what does that include? That includes weapon systems. That includes drones. That includes everything that we have when it comes to arsenals, whether it be good guys or bad guys. It's all based off of this pre-existing communications that we have, whether it's frequencies, whether it's fiber optics, whether it's satellites. It's all based off that technology. And what I've been told is this new technology that's going to get revealed. And I was told February 14th or 15th. Like those were specifically the days that were told to me.
That it could happen.
They told me that's when this new technology, everybody's going to be aware of it. So They didn't tell me that's when this is going to happen. I'm making the theory that if that's going to happen, then I think either at that moment or just before it, we're probably going to see an old system get taken down.
And I'm going to show an article right now. This is unbelievable what's happening, man. They just took down another major player. I think it was yesterday or the day before. 𝗬𝗃𝗃 from Laredo. Here he is here. I really hate these ads, bro. It's like I'm trying to really show something here, and then they just keep popping up on my.
They just want to spam you, bro. They want to spam you.
It's unbelievable, man. So here it is right here. Gun battles disrupt Mexico City. Consulate warning. Nuevo Laredo right here.
Yep.
Gunfights on Monday shook a Mexican border city plagued with drug cartel-related violence, forcing the suspension of flights in local airport, authorities said. Now, I've been to Laredo. It's Nuevo Laredo and Laredo. And I'll tell you this. I fought in Nuevo Laredo back in the day and in the bull ring. And I'll tell you what, man, that place is way more hardcore than El Paso, I think. The violence in Nuevo Laredo, just south of Texas, followed the arrest of an alleged local cartel leader, Ricardo Gonzalez, alias 𝗬𝗃𝗃. This is another big one, man.
But we scroll down to where it says hours later. So we talked about this in part 1, that we were going to see the look at what it says. It says hours later, the consulate said it would be closing on Tuesday due to an emergency situation in the city. And what do you have above that? U.S. government personnel were advised to shelter in place. We talked about that in part 1. That we were going to
because of retaliation, correct? They were scared of the retaliation.
And after this, because what will happen? You're going to see, the heat's going to get a little bit hotter in the kitchen, and then right now it's being told shelter in place. You're going to see in Mexico the orders come from the U.S. government for Americans to come back to America.
I agree, and I've already issued the Nino travel warnings or travel advisory. I think you got to be out of your mind to go to Mexico right now.
100%.
I think
100.
right now, I mean, people thinking they're going to go to Mexico for spring break or whatever. Talk to your kids, folks. This ain't the time to go. Not right now. We are in a heated. This is like a Cold War right now. It's about to go kinetic. This is about to get really ugly.
You do not want your high school kids going out to Cancun or anything like that right now. Like listen, even the places that Rosarito, Tijuana, all these places, you
What
just
is the travel warning?
yeah, you just can't. For those that if you're not on TikTok, go on TikTok, and you have a lot of people in Mexico that are saying if you come over here, what their intentions are for you.
Yeah,
If you're American, and
they
listen,
hate Americans right now.
and not just the 𝗬𝗏𝗏s, they're talking about if you're Mexican, but
Mm,
you're 𝗃𝗏𝗀 Mexican, that you ain't safe either.
right. No, here we go. It's game on, man. It's game on. I mean, we have the cartels threatening, and in an indirect way, not a very obvious way for people like you and I to see, but Bill Gates as well. So we get threats from Bill Gates and the cartels, man. This is an epic time to be alive. I mean, it's about to kick off. It has kicked off. Trump is on the offense. Trump is on the offense to the point now where their backs against the ropes and they have to come out fighting.
Pete
And
Hegseth, the one that Trump just appointed to head of the Department of Secretary of Defense, he just put out just a few hours ago, not even that long, that the month of January was the highest recruiting numbers in the military in the last 15 years.
they trust their leader.
Because
People
100%.
have confidence. People are gung ho. They want to go fight for our country.
And
Also,
the
this
reason
U.S. Go ahead.
I was saying, and the reason Hegseth put out that statement wasn't for America. It was for our adversaries. So he knows, listen, our numbers are about to jump. So if you want to pick a fight, we're not dealing with the numbers under Biden. We're going to be dealing with some new numbers in our military.
And I think the fight has already been picked, bro. It's on. Here we go. You don't. What Trump is doing right now is picking a fight. That's what he's doing. He's picking a fight. Trump has just picked a fight. It says here, U.S. Air Force intelligence aircraft have entered Mexican airspace after Mexico agreed to cooperate in fighting the cartels. So you telling me they're turning on the cartels? This is insanity. I've said this many times. 𝗬𝗏𝗯𝗶𝗹, I don't think she's going to make it to the end of the year. She won't make it to the end of the year. They're going to replace her real fast. Cooperating with Trump at any degree, you're gone. PDX has sent a warning to the cartel saying all options are on the table. President Trump demanded 100% operational control of the border, and Hegseth is delivering. Here we go. Here we go. This is it, man. Buckle up, folks. Leave a comment down below. Do you want to go on the back channel and talk a little bit?
Yeah, let's fire it off.
All right, let's go back to Nino's Corner.tv, folks. And we're going to really get into this. Let's work some strategy on this. All right, folks. I will see you at Nino's Corner.tv. Thanks. Thanks, Alpha. Where do people find you?
Just �alphawarrior.tv. You can find everything Alpha.